That's our panel discussion. We've got really some interesting people who've joined us. And to moderate an interesting session, we also need someone who's very interesting, right? So we have Dr. Ainan Shahidi, who's taken a time out of his tight schedule for us. I must say, when I interacted with him first, I was, a bit nervous. He's an industry veteran. I mean, perhaps a lot of you would know him for years now. He's more than, correct me if I'm wrong, more than 3 decades in the industry now. So, industry veteran who is also a corporate packaging professional, academician. He's worked with multiple companies, Trident, Sahara, FMCG, Interfail, Mosaber, Modicare. I mean, the list goes on. He's also a gold medalist, by the way, from IIP. It's a pleasure for us to have him with us. And then after he's completed his tenure with SIES School of Packaging as a director, he is now associated with 4 Sixes Packaging and Marketing, wherein he focuses on consulting, training, and education. He's also a result catalyst, change agent, trainer, and motivational public speaker. Perhaps you will see glimpses of it when he does moderate the session today. It's enjoyable. It's amazing, how he takes the session through. I had a small glimpse of it when we did a Teams call yesterday. Thank you very much. So the theme of today is, of course, sustainability in packaging. Now I would request Dr. Shahidi to kindly come on stage. He will then introduce each panel members to you. And one by one, we've already placed your placards, and then you could certainly take it further from there. Can I switch it off? Sorry. Can I let it remain? Because all the names are seen there. Acha, acha, acha. Okay, okay.
Hello. One day early in the morning, I was at the beach, and the water was flowing with a lot of speed. And at the beach, many fishes were there. Many fishes were coming in and going out, coming in and going out. But the starfishes, they were stuck at the beach end. And there were plenty of them. At that corner, I found one person who was picking up one fish and throwing it back in the sea. Picking up another one, throwing it back at the sea. I went to him and I asked him, "What the hell you are doing, man? There are thousands and hundreds and thousands of fishes over there. Will you be doing it for every one of them?" He said, "I wish I could do that. But even if I could do for one, my life is made." Ladies and gentlemen, this presence over here is having all the person who is present at that beach and throwing the starfish back in the sea. All of you are that. Don't you think so? All of you are contributing to the society, and that's called packaging fraternity. And that's a great, great contribution, because packaging is the backbone of industry today. I am absolutely elated and happy to be invited over here to be part of this great gathering. Thanks, Mr. D'Souza, for having this honor to me. Well, ladies and gentlemen, we are going to have an interesting panel discussion. We have got 5 stalwarts from the industry. Let me introduce them one by one. Here is a gentleman who is a senior packaging leader, having worked for close to 25 years. And he has worked in a space of packaging design and development, packaging procurement, supply chain, sustainability, value engineering, and brand protection. He is presently the senior general manager and head of packaging at a very, very famous company called Diageo India, based at Bengaluru. His experience is with Unilever, Huhtamaki, Reddy, Dr. Reddy's, and Havells at leadership positions. He is a PG from IIP, and also he has done his advanced post-graduation in packaging from Loughborough University, UK, an alumni of Presidency University, Kolkata, and gold medalist in packaging. It's my pleasure. Give it up for Sanjay Ghoshal. Sanjay, welcome. Please take your position, Sanjay. Thank you so much for being here. Another stalwart from the industry is a plastic engineer and packaging technologist by qualification, and a consumer-centric problem solver by passion. Look at this. Diverse experience of 23 years across industries and products, ranging from PET bottles, cosmetics, and lube oil to foods. Driving the foods packaging at one of the prestigious company, again in Bengaluru, for the last 18 years. Passionate about finding a practical approach to packaging sustainability, none other than Biswajit Chakrabarti from ITC Foods. Give it up to Biswajit Chakrabarti. Please welcome. Biswajit, thank you very much for being here. This gentleman, another one, brings about 22 years, 2 decades of experience in pharma industry. He's a hardcore pharma professional. Functional experience from design to innovation, guidelines, quality, regulations, many things. You ask him, he is there. And he has worked in leading pharma companies like Reddy's, Novartis, Aurobindo Pharma, MSN Laboratories. He has also several publications honored and featured among India's most reputed packaging scientists in packaging development and drug delivery conclave by the Express Pharma. He has completed MBA in operations, master's degree in packaging technology, also a Lean Six Sigma Green Belt trainer by profession. He is none other than Manjunath Nadella from Strides Pharma. Welcome. Thank Manju for being here. This gentleman is a young gentleman with 18 years of experience in packaging industry and currently heading a retail and e-commerce conglomerate in Bengaluru. He has got 360-degree techno-commercial experience from design, development, innovation, automation, procurement, sales and marketing to recycling as well. He has extensive knowledge in packaging development of food, non-food categories, and converting industries. He has worked in leading companies including Huhtamaki, ITC Foods, Tata Global, Beverages, prior to Flipkart. He is PG in technology, packaging technology from IIP Mumbai, and this gentleman is Ashish Surve from Flipkart Bengaluru. Welcome, Ashish, for you being here at this moment. Now, I have the last panelist with me. He is head of packaging development at one of the Tata big companies, and he is with, his company is into tea and coffee, Tata Coffee. Tata Coffee is the name of the company. He has received national and global awards for his expertise. He has traveled the world for trade exhibitions and acquired knowledge from leading manufacturers, thus discovering global trends and integrating them into Tata Coffee's operations. One of his pet projects was optimization of the packaging processes, including automation of stocking and movement of products within the warehouse and vehicles through real-time monitoring, online quality, defect detection, and information integration. Ladies and gentlemen, put your hands together for Mr. Prince PT from Tata Coffee. Thank you very much for being present over here. It's a real pleasure to be amongst this gathering. Sorry, it fell down. Keep it with you, I think that's, yeah. The subject is not new. Many panel discussions, seminars, conferences, symposiums have already happened on this subject, that sustainability in packaging. Somebody told me that if you think the economy is more important than environment, if you think that the economy is more important than the environment, try holding your breath while counting your money. सांसें बंद करके रोक करके पैसे गिनना शुरू कीजिए. Can you survive? You can't survive because environment is supreme. Do you know that 1 million plastics bottles are thrown every minute in the sea? In other words, we are having a small island of plastics traveling in the sea, swirling in the sea. These gyres, there are 6 gyres all over in the sea, and they are really creating big trouble for all of us. All the environmentalists are seriously working on this. Data from United Nations say that by 2050, oceans will have home of more plastics than fishes. Can you imagine? If we don't wake up, ladies and gentlemen, the end is very soon. So, to wake us up, we are having this panel discussion, and we have got leaders from the industry. One thing which I wanted to really focus on, the United Nations environmental program, which is on circular economy. And circular economy and sustainability is in the top agenda of UN. And this program talks about value retention processes. So, I would address this to my panelists, specifically to begin with Mr. Sanjay Ghoshal. Sanjay, a lot of work is happening worldwide on circular economy, if you are, sorry. Yeah, a lot of work is happening on that. And World Economic Forum, Ellen MacArthur Foundation, and many others are seriously doing a lot of brainstorming on this subject, so that there is an innovation and integration between natural ecosystems, businesses, our daily lives, and also the waste management can be taken up in a more constructive way. Since, Sanjay, you are into IMFL industry, and IMFL sector is one of the pioneers in introducing PET for the packaging of their products. We'll be really delighted to learn from you about the bottle-to-bottle circularity of PET. So please share your thoughts on this.
Right, thank you. Thank you very much. Am I audible at the back? Okay, great. So before I start answering this question, I was in Plast India. I think many of you would be in Plast India, which happened a few months back. I think if you ask me that what was perhaps one of the most hotly discussed topic in that whole large, because it's one of the largest events in the country on packaging, perhaps the largest. So if you ask me, I would rate circularity, circular economy in packaging as one of the most hotly debated and discussed topic in that particular forum. Now, bottle to bottle, see, we have been recycling bottle for a very long time. The t-shirt that I'm wearing is made from, I think most of you are wearing clothes which are, a large part of the cloth is made of recycled PET, right? So yarns have been using recycled PET, recycled plastics, which is nothing new about it. Now, how do you create a bottle-to-bottle economy so that from a take, make, discard system, you go back to, or you go to a take, make, and reuse, right? So that bottle goes into bottle and that cycle goes on without drawing any new non-renewable energy from the Mother Earth, right? So as you're aware that there have been a very big change in the last, I would say, last few months, that FSSI has cleared the use of recycled PET in contact of food and beverages, right? While there have been use of recycled PET for non-food applications, it's been going on for a while, but I think this opens up a very big space wherein the legislation is in place to allow use of food-grade recycled PET meeting certain food and safety standards going into packaging of food and beverages in the country. So it has certainly opened up a huge opportunity for the beverages industry, which is the Coke, Pepsis, the mineral water industry, as well as the spirits and the liquor industry and the beer industry, right? So who have been the primary consumer. I mean, Coke and Pepsi have moved out of PET, of glass for a while, but they are all into virgin PET. Liquor and spirits industry, they have been still heavily into glass industry. And glass, you know, is one of the most, I would say, a format having the worst or most adverse carbon footprint in the world, right? And the bottle-to-bottle economy for glass is also not more than, in India, it's not more than 25-30%, right? And the content of glass recycled in the furnace is also not more than, on an average, 30%. So overall, glass is bad for the environment. Hence, the shift from glass to PET has been a subject of interest for a while for the food and beverages company. With this, the opening up of the legislation for the application of recycled PET for food and beverages, and the impending clarity from BIS on the test standards, right? I think with that, it will open up a completely new, I would say, horizon for the food and beverages industry to shift from glass and virgin PET to recycled PET. I think for that, there has been a lot of work happening in India. There are very few food-grade PET, rPET manufacturers in India. Very few. I don't want to name them from this stage, but there are very few with very little capacity compared to what is required. If even 50% of the PET consumption have to shift to rPET, food-grade rPET in the next 5 years, right? Today, Reliance produces about 1 lakh ton of PET. Indorama would do another 700, 800, 1,000 tons of PET. About, 1.7 lakh tons, say about 2,000 tons all put together. If even 50% had to get converted in next 5 years, there's a humongous, very, enormous task that is ahead of us going forward to ensure that we have the right collection mechanism and the right manufacturing processes which are approved by BIS, approved, which are of the European standards, and can give us the right quality, this food-safe quality for recycled PET, right? So I think, to summarize, what I wanted to say is that bottle-to-bottle economy, while it is prevalent in many parts of the world, it is still very nascent in the food and beverages industry in India. FSSAI has cleared up, BIS is awaited, their response is awaited, and the amount of PET that goes into, the virgin PET that goes into the bottles today and then gets discarded after one use, and then they getting into the filament yarns and other I would say, downcycling options. I think it is imperative that this recycled PET will very soon be fully operational within the country. Capacities will build up, and we'll have enough material, food-grade material available in the country for us to become, I would say, a true nation of bottle-to-bottle circularity for the food and beverages industry. Sorry? Also, absolutely. When I say food and beverages, I include liquor and beer and water and carbonated soft drinks. These are the 3-4 very large container-consuming industries. But I think the opportunity here for the machine manufacturers is, because if we depend on imported machineries for the washing and recycling of PET, right? It will take us another 15 years to catch up with the volume that is going to be there in 15 years' time from where we are today. So I think it's going to be an imperative that we have Indian footprint in the equipment manufacturing of sorting, collection, washing, cleaning, and eventually extrusion of food-grade recycled PET, which will go into the manufacturing of bottles for the food and beverages industry. I think that's a big shift that is waiting to happen. Thank you very much.
That's lovely. Great. You will hear many, many innovative things, knowledge from our panelists. Sanjay Ghoshal is having his own experience. We have got 5 panelists from different backgrounds, you must have noticed. I would like all of you to pay attention to whatever they are sharing, their wealth of knowledge, because this will help you in working in your profession. Right. Taking forward the circularity aspect of it, environmental sustainability, economic sustainability, social sustainability, and the best is the consumer aspect of it. Yeah, food sector. So, as a developing nation in Indian context, the challenge of circularity is huge, but the investment made so far, as you just now mentioned, is feeble, very, very little compared to what it is required to be. Food sector as such, perhaps all of you know, is perhaps the largest user of packaging materials, especially plastics. My question to Biswaroop is that, do you think we need to focus more on making existing plastics more circular rather than working on newer materials and newer machines? What is your opinion, Mr. Biswaroop? Yeah.
Thank you, Dr. Shahidi. I think you're right. Food sector meets the maximum amount of FMCG need of the consumers. And hence, consequently, we also use the maximum amount of packaging. And not only that, we also use a lot of thin plastics because of the barrier requirement, because of the price points that we operate in, because of various technical aspects. We end up using perhaps the most amount of thin plastics, which are so-called difficult to recycle and all those things. And you're absolutely right. While all of us seem to be doing a lot of things, all of us are doing a lot of things in our own areas. On ground, if you see, you don't see much happening. You don't see much happening in this area. I think there's a need for not only a directional alignment, there is a need for, probably a approach alignment between all stakeholders. We all seem to be doing things, but maybe not in sync, maybe in different direction. I'll come to why I'm saying that. If the way I look at it, there are two primary aspects of the whole recycling thing. One is around the whole biodegradable space, and the other one is around recycling and the use of recycled space. Now, biodegradable space, the way I look at it, I don't think it has the potential to become the next big thing. It has the potential to take on the packaging needs of an economy like ours. Why I'm saying that is, at the end of the day, biodegradable packagings are costlier. They are compromised on properties. While a lot of work is happening in the area of improving their properties, but it is expected that with those improved properties, it will become even more costlier. So what are we saying? We are saying that we will make plastic packaging with a biodegradable packaging, make it costlier, and make sure that after one use, the value of that becomes zero. Right? So perhaps this approach for a developing country like us is definitely, it will probably not work for any country, definitely not for India. Coming to recycling space again, if you look at it, most of the efforts seem to be directed toward mono-material kind of structures and all. All of us are working towards mono-material. That's fine, mono-material is good. But if you look at it from the perspective of the recycling infrastructure which exists in the country or which is coming up, if you have been to one of those, it's a closed loop conveyor belt, something like a airline luggage conveyor belt system which they operate on. All the waste gets dumped and things gets picked up. So in the process, whatever has got value and whatever is easily identifiable gets picked up. At the end, what you are left out with is all this thin plastics, lot of it, with various kind of print, and all of them looking similar. Now, expecting people to pick up those and segregate those by the number which I have written behind it, is it not asking for a little bit too much? I think it is. I don't think that is going to work either. So I think the solution has to be in as-is recycling. Mixed waste can be reprocessed. You get granules out of it. You get a gray matter. The objective should be, as per me, the biggest agenda should be finding appropriate use for those gray matter, gray plastic, whatever we are talking about, right? And it is, I don't think it's very difficult. You know, there are examples. Some people have made bricks out of it. One wild thought which I was just thinking today, we have so much usage of plywood and wood in the country. Can this gray matter become the core material for this thing? And those kind of things will always come with technological advancement, right? And those technologies, the machinery manufacturers has a big role to play. So through this forum, I'd like to urge, not only look at the recycling part of it, but whatever comes out of the recycle, mixed material recycle, can there be a better usage for that. Having said that, there is space for everything, right? If you are talking about biodegradable, if you are talking about products which are degradable in nature, which are wet products which are degradable in nature and which spoils the packaging, which will never get recycled, obviously those has to be converted to biodegradable. Similarly, your monomaterial has its own usage. Things like milk pouches, which are easily identifiable, which will get picked up and which has certain given weight. There perhaps there is space for working in the space of monomaterial as well. So this is what I think. I think the biggest agenda or biggest task for all of us is to find usage in the space of mixed material recycling.
Well said, Biswaru. Well said. Thank you very much. As far as my information goes on, there are 11 leading brands on international level which are seriously working on moving towards whatever extent possible towards recyclable, reusable packaging by 2025. In fact, Danone, Nestle, Unilever, PepsiCo, Coca-Cola, they have all set the target for 2025, 2030, and then beyond that. A lot of work is happening on recycling packaging, as rightly said Biswaroop. You also mentioned about the costing aspect of it, because cost does play an important role, whether should we go for sustainable packaging or no, whether it is possible or no for a user, or also for the manufacturer to put up a line to manufacture, as Sanjay was talking about it. Though, as far as pharmaceutical is concerned, it constitutes a small percentage. Pharmaceutical, though it's a big segment as far as the turnover is concerned, but with respect to the waste generation compared to food and other industry, it constitutes very a small percentage of the waste generation. But that itself is a big concern for World Health Organization, how to manage the waste coming out of the medical industry, the pharma industry. My question is to Mr. Manjunath, is that what steps can be taken for sustainable packaging sources, sustainable sources for packaging materials? And if you have some examples to enlighten our audience, that will be very helpful, sir, please.
Yeah, great evening, everyone. So thanks, Dr. For quick introduction. I would like to thank Mr. Anthony for making part of this prestigious event with me, and the PackMach Asia Expo. So as Dr. rightly mentioned, yes, so pharmaceutical packaging contributes a little into the wastage. So I could say that below 5%. So considerably compared to other.
Little closer. Mike.
Yeah. So in this regard, right? So even though we have limitations, because all pharmaceutical companies. So see, the reason is that all pharmaceutical companies governed by regulations. So each and everyone aware about that, because we don't have like a leverage of putting into a new innovation or invention into packaging. Because generally all Indian pharmaceutical companies, so we depend on exports. The majority stake of pharmaceutical dosage forms with different packs are exported from India to in the global market. So today is approximately 15 to 20% of the global supply pharmaceutical products happens from India. So moreover, I could put into two different scenarios here. One is for domestic market and the export market. So in case of export market, definitely, the regulations comes into picture. So whatever the package you develop, right? So irrespective of sustainability, has to meet the regulations of the particular regulatory authority or agency. So I would like to quote example like the Europe market. Europe market has certain regulations where a braille is one of the embossed on the printed carton. So even though there is an opportunity to reduce the grammage of the board, but the Europe market will not allow because of the GSM, because if lower GSM, you cannot able to provide a proper the braille onto the packaging. So this is one of the example. In the similar way, like because you cannot give a different packaging because of the regulations. So because you need to compete other generic players which are present in the market. So every packaging design and development happens in pharmaceutical company, so governed by completely the regulations. So since you mentioned about WHO organization, yes, because recently we worked with multiple projects with WHO organization. They have given some recommendations. So I think every one of you knows about the recent sensation movie, Oscar-winning movie Triple R, right? So in the same way, WHO has come up with Triple R, 3 Rs in packaging. So reduce, reuse, and recycle. This is one of the methodology given to pharmaceutical industry, especially in pharma, where you are allowed to reduce the packaging as much as possible where there is no necessity for a product. Second, reuse it wherever it is possible and recycle it. So it's a generic terminology based on this principle. So we worked out various options keeping the regulations in mind, especially for pharmaceutical requirements to meet the regulations. Because always, as I mentioned, whatever design, whatever package you develop for export market, the regulation comes into picture. Every change calls for a variation. Every variation costs for a pharmaceutical company. That is the reason no pharmaceutical company dare to have a sustainable or different design of packaging in export market. Domestic market, yes, so you're allowed, you have your own brands present in the market. You can use recycled packaging material to save the cost and as part of sustainability goal. So in case of WHO, what you rightly mentioned about the recommendations, so we took a few initiatives for complying the sustainability goal, for achieving sustainability goal, like many products which we export for other regulatory markets. So generally, the blisters, the bottles are supplied with a monocotton or multiple pack sizes are supplying to that, multi-dosage forms. So what we did, so we had a multiple discussions, various discussions with WHO authority. So finally, we could able to achieve in converting the physical form of patient information leaflet into electronic form. That is one of the proposal we kept in front of WHO organization. So fortunately, we got approval from them. So they, as part of sustainability goal, as part of eco-friendly packaging, so they have agreed. So for some category products, so where your physical format of a patient information leaflet can be converted into electronic form. This is one of the good achievement which going forward maybe from 2025 onwards, we expect the similar type of electronic pill introduction in various Europe and US markets as well.
Good. Thank you
Thank
so
you.
much. Thanks a lot. It's very interesting to talk about 3 Rs again and again and again. But do you know that United Nations Environment Program, when it talks about the value retention process, it has got 8 Rs. And let me tell you 8 Rs. The first is refuse. Refuse. Use no packaging. Possible to some extent, not for all. Refuse to use packaging materials altogether. And then they talk about reduce, reuse, repair. Repair takes us to the, many years ago when हमारी cycle खराब हो गई तो उसकी repairing करा लो rather than buying a new cycle, So repairing, refurbishing. They also talk about remanufacture, repurpose, and then recycle. So see, gentlemen and ladies, so much of work is happening worldwide. Where are we? That's what is the question. Now, with respect to different types of packaging materials, what we have discussed so far, I understand the tea and coffee sector is using different types of packaging materials. For example, they have got aluminum containers, they have got tin plate containers, glass packaging, plastic containers, PET, non-PET, flexible packaging, rigid packaging, many of them. I would request Mr. Prince to share some of the few initiatives being taken in that industry with respect to sustainability packaging, materials and machineries. So Prince, the question is for you, please.
It's a very difficult question because this is very difficult to pack the coffee part of it because the quality of the coffee is as such, because you need to retain the aroma quality characteristics. So if you see, very critical, OTR and WTR is very critical for coffee or tea packaging. So you can't really work on recycled or biodegradable packaging, very limited scope. In spite, we make about 15,000 tons of coffee in various segments, and we export to many countries across the globe. And again, the multi-layered packaging is a big problem across the globe. So they asked us to explore what could be the alternate option which can be recycled. We had a couple of projects with CFTRI, and we looked at what are the options. So we eliminated multi-layered packaging with LDPE material with a big percentage of EVOH. So instead of one polybag, we use two polybags so that the WTR is taken care. So with that, almost 60% of our packaging completely eliminated multi-layered packaging. We have gone back to recyclable LDPE material. Apart from that, retail pack, luckily we do plenty of metal containers, which is acceptable to the market where we operate in. It's a huge, metal packaging is very, 100% recyclable and environment friendly. So markets like West Africa, Russia, and a bit of Europe, they prefer metal packaging over laminates. So the focus is, towards sustainable packaging across the globe. And India, as we are trying many things to, reach to their global demand. And in case of tea, actually previously used to use met, PET, poly and things like that. From there we moved to already BOPP, which is again recyclable. So these are the couple of developments that we have done for this food segment. Also for around 10% of the instant coffee packaging, particularly for domestic market and some of the Southeast Asia countries or Middle East, we see multi-layered laminates where we have to cater to their flexible demand. So when it comes to instant coffee, it's highly hygroscopic, so we need to have really required WTR. So we use foil in it. When you use foil, you can't recycle the material. So what we have done is that a small study we have conducted with one of the converter. Instead of PET, we use BOPP, and we'll replace foil with CPP and bit percentage of EOH. So if you do that, probably we'll reach to the closest as possible, and we can eliminate the multi-layered usage in instant coffee industry as well. So this 10% also we are looking at in the coming days will ensure that we are 100% recyclable. Thank you.
So tea and coffee being hygroscopic products, let's not play with the specification of the packaging. It will kill the business, so it's a little dangerous, isn't it? So let's play safe over there. But yes, it has got variety of packaging being used worldwide, especially for exports business. Okay. Now, most of you would know that the sustainable packaging industry is growing. And as far as I am concerned, my data, my research says that there's about 7 to 8% CAGR is expected to be between 23 and 28. It's on the positive side. The retail and e-commerce industry has only taken a big lead in this, as you were talking about it, worldwide. Let's learn from the initiatives taken by the retail and e-commerce industry in India. We have got our speaker, Ashish Surve. But before that, ladies and gentlemen, I'm thankful to you for being very attentive audience. We will have question-answer session after the second round of our panel discussion. So any specific question, please keep it ready. We will give you enough time for that. Okay? Over to you, Ashish.
Well, thank you, Doctor. And thank you, Shalmal and Jeevan, for organizing such a wonderful event, and audiences as well. So just to answer your question in short, we added one more R besides whatever 8 R's you mentioned, that is research. So we have a design team sitting right in this event room, and we are thankful to all the stakeholders for doing this. So, just to give a perspective about our company or other e-com companies, in July 2021, we have completely eliminated single-use plastic from our supply chain. So when I say our supply chain, which is being sold on from our fulfillment centers. So I would say that we have crossed the stage of whether to use or not use single-use plastics. That is one. Second thing is, I remember you were saying about UNEP, right? So UNEP also has, collaborated with WWF India, that is Worldwide Fund for Nature India, and in that there is a program called Unplastic Collective. So Flipkart is a part of it, and this talks a lot about, not only talks, does work also a lot about the EPR related activity, So it's, tries to clear the boundaries, which is, which is, I would say, obstructing from the people to recycle or, apply for EPRs. So EPR, I'm sure everybody knows, is Extended Producer's Responsibility, which enables, to a certificate if you guys using a certain plastic and recycle it. So again, from Flipkart point of view, I would proudly say that for 3 years in a row, we have got EPR certificate for 100% of plastic that we have injected in the system. So, this is a kind of eye-opener for the industry, and as you might have observed that on your tables that organizers and the event service providers have actually eliminated the plastic bottles, right? Yeah, I can see one seal that can be recycled. That's, I think, paper waste, right? So what at Flipkart, what we do is we use similar concept, right? Wherever we can reduce, reuse. You might have seen the Flipkart packaging that you get. You'll find you'll not find bubble wraps, right? You'll find a certain shredded material, right? Right? That is something like we have thought of. We have eliminated plastic, right? So I would say, we are also learning. That I wouldn't say that learning is complete. So we are learning slowly, and we are targeting, to complete EPR year on year, right? And also reduce our consumption of paper also, right? Because ultimately, like it or not, we talk a lot about plastic, but not about paper, right? Even if you are using paper, just to give you numbers, because I'm sure audiences knows more number than me, but if you talk about plastics, per capita consumption is 50% of global consumption in India. But in paper, it's about 1/4, right? Mm-hmm. So that means paper is consumed less, so there is a scope, to replace paper, replace plastic by paper, right? So we can think of those options, right? And we are also learning from this, right? So thank you so much, doctor. And as I said, research is our 9th hour.
Right, right. And rethink is another R. Isn't it? Rethink before you really take a decision. Oh, should I go for this packaging or no? Rethink. Yeah. So many R's are coming in. It's again innovation. Yeah. So thank you very much for the first round of discussion, but we will not leave you, gentlemen. Should we continue with the more discussion? It's very interesting. I'm loving it. What do you say, gentlemen? Yes or no? Yes, okay. So I have got the permission from the audience as well. They are very keen to listen to you more because you are really adding value to their knowledge. Thank you very much for being such an encouraging panelist. Right. Biodegradable packaging. Biswaroop just talked about it, and also Sanjay was talking about this. Biodegradable packaging, in my opinion, is a buzzword. Biodegradable plastic. Everybody talks about biodegradable plastics, And frankly speaking, this is one of the fastest moving segment in sustainable packaging. Millions of dollars is being spent in this research, and many development is happening. But what is this actually? What is this biodegradable thing? And what is the viability to use biodegradable bottles? Do we need any special machine, technology, processes to handle them? My question would be to my friend Sanjay Ghoshal to throw some light on this, please. Yeah.
Sure, thank you very much. Good to have the mic back. Before I answer this question, you guys have heard so many R's. I hope you remember all the R's. Because there's a question answer session. While you ask questions, we can also ask questions. So please make a note of the number. I mean, whosoever answers, comes up with the maximum number of R's, get a special reward from Dr. Shaidi. Please remember that. So, I mean, just to light up the conversation, otherwise it would get, getting too heavy. So, coming to the question he asked, so I would like to add two more jargons to this evening's conversation. I mean, you have heard this series of R's. So now two more is, one is, cradle to cradle. I don't know how many of you have heard this. I mean, it's very common, commonly used word. One is cradle to cradle, other is cradle to grave. Now, what I started talking about is bottle to bottle circularity, right? Is basically a perfect example. Now, if you can achieve a state where you have PET being made at a refinery, it goes into bottle making, the bottle is collected and recycled back into a bottle, and the cycle continues as an infinite loop, right? So you are not drawing, ideally, nobody knows what will happen if we keep doing it. Ideally, after once you take the material from, the fossil fuel, you are not drawing any more material, right? Because you are recycling the bottle as an infinite loop, right? This is called cradle to cradle. We talked about it. So the other technologies, other space is called cradle to grave. Now what does it mean? It basically means that you degrade the polymer or the virgin polymer in a manner that after the degradation, you give back the carbon and the hydrogen that you have taken from the nature to create that hydrocarbon, right? So nature gets back the carbon and hydrogen that it gives. You can again draw that to create your virgin plastic, make it bio, and it comes back to the soil. Or you use biomaterial to create a biodegradable material, like you use sugarcane or corn. These are the two most popular biomaterial that is used to create bioplastics, right? Which are eventually biodegradable. Now, I think Vishwarup mentioned, it's a very important point. Now, we have two routes. We are at a crossroad. The whole world is at a crossroad. Whether, and there's a great debate. It is not a debate here, it's a debate at every forum, that what makes real sense, or what will make sense now, 25, 2030, 2050, next 100 years, where should the world go, right? Because the world has not changed ever since we had polymers, right? It's been how many years do we have plastics? About maybe 50, 60 years, right? World hasn't much, changed much. You have kept drawing polymer from the, basic material from the carbon and hydrogen from the nature, and you've created polymer and you have thrown it away. Or you've recycled into something else, right? I think it's a great debate whether we should take the cradle to cradle route, which is recycling. You recycle either into the same article, which is bottle to bottle circularity, or you recycle it into something else, which Vishwarup talked about, and create economic value around it, right? Otherwise, there will be, the whole recycling business will fall apart, right? And why would a Raddiwala pick up if he's not getting any value out of it? Because, right? So there has to be economic value attached to it. There has to be a consumer pool attached to it. Consumer should be able to recognize, appreciate, and ready to pay that, or go that extra mile to consume responsible material, right? So that is one part. Now, if you are not doing this, your next option becomes that you take from the nature, you give it back to nature, right? Again, you take back from nature. So your circularity is happening between the nature use and goes back to nature as an elemental carbon and hydrogen, right? This is what is known principally as biodegradation or composting, right? Now, we have heard of aerobic biodegradation, non-aerobic biodegradation or anaerobic biodegradation, but it has, while this debate is going on, right, whether we should invest money in bioplastics and biodegradability, right? There are very big companies who have been investing billions of dollars as we speak. Companies like DuPont, Dow, they have not been able to come up with anything sustainable so far. Whatever has come are reasonably expensive, more expensive. Like if you want to use a PLA from a European country into India, it will be almost 3x the price of what you currently pay for your virgin HDP or polypropylene, right? Just to give you an example. So people also tried the use of corn, sugarcane. Brazil, there's a company called Braskem who has been pioneers in using sugarcane to convert into polymers. I mean, PLA from corn is very common. You've heard of company like NatureWorks, which used to be owned by Cargill sometime back, up until some time back. So they have tried to use agri-source to create bioplastics and a biodegradable plastics. But the success rate and the decision, the global, I would say, advocacy is still very much toward cradle to cradle, where you take, you use, you recycle, and you keep that infinite loop on, rather than putting the plastic or creating a biodegradable plastic, which then has to be subjected to an induced degradation, either in an aerobic or an anaerobic condition, to give the element of carbon and hydrogen back, oxygen back into the nature, right? So principally, while it's a debate, and the debate will perhaps have been going on for last 1 odd decade, will perhaps continue for 1 more decade, but what it seems as of now is that the cradle to cradle option is far more pragmatic and universally applicable than a cradle to grave solution through biodegradability, right? So this is what I had to share.
One thing which I was very keen to know about it from you, that for this type of material, do we need to have some different machines to handle, to manufacture or to use in packaging?
Right. So in terms of manufacturing of the polymer, it obviously needs a completely different setup, right? Now, in terms of manufacturing of using of these materials for making films, or to make a bottle, right, of a PLA, or to make a film out of PLA, or to use them in an extrusion coating, to have a, I mean, recently ITC came up with a board which is, instead of poly coating, this typical Indo-bar material, right, which is used for making cups, paper cups. They used a coating of PLA, right? So it also calls for a significant alteration of the machines, of the plastic processing machines, which will use this kind of material effectively or efficiently on the lines, right? So while that's an opportunity, because you will have changes in the machines, you have new requirements of machines, but it's still a matter of debate and an unresolved debate, whether it makes the right economic sense to go down that path.
Very correct. Well said. Thank you so much. Wonderful. That's why the value or cost, which is more important. If my cost has got certain parameter and that is giving more value than what it costs, then certainly I would go for it. But then if it is vice versa, it's a challenging situation. That's why value and cost proposition is the heart of any new initiative in the new development, what is being taken by all the packaging professionals, materials manufacturers or machine manufacturers. But the biggest thing is that consumer, the end consumer, how are we developing a trust among consumers about these type of materials? So what can be done to connect with consumers so that they can opt for sustainable packaging? What should we do? That's a question. And what strategy we can develop so that we can really connect with consumer and ensure that they know about the benefit of sustainable packaging and develop trust on sustainable packaging. So what do you think about it? My question would be directed to my second panelist, Mr. Biswaroop, about this. How to bring consumers closer to the industry with respect to sustainable packaging? Yeah.
Thank you again, Dr. Shahidi. I think it's a very important point which you've raised. After all our sustainability initiatives are good only when the consumer buys our product. If the consumer doesn't buy our product, your sustainability initiative fails there itself. The way I look at it, product categories needs to be differentiated. If you're talking about mass products, right, the consumer put down price for those products cannot increase. If you're talking about 5 rupee, 10 rupee kind of segments that we all know of, right, they don't cater to only the food needs of you and me. They cater to the food needs of the driver who drove you here, right? You cannot increase the price point there, right? And you know, if I do a sustainable packaging, I increase my cost and I pass on that cost because in those products, margins are also lower. You do not have the option of, you know, absorbing the cost. Pass on the cost, I become more expensive. The consumer shifts to the next brand who is cheaper but not in a non-sustainable packaging. My sustainability initiative fails there itself. I've done something, but it'll yield me no result. And this is where I'd like to connect back to what I said in to your first question. You know, this is perhaps where this mixed material recycling, etc., has the maximum usage, right? Because at the end of the day, you can do whatever you can, but you cannot increase the price. You cannot increase the price, at least in the context of India. However, having said that, there are other products. There are other products where you just don't sell product. You sell an experience. You sell a different proposition altogether, right? In those kind of products, consumers are much more receptive towards this kind of initiative. Consumer is also ready to pay. Incidentally, we also have better margins to absorb some of the costs there, or all of the costs there. And consumer reciprocates to what we are doing. You have to tell the consumer, you have to inform the consumer that this is different, this is a sustainable packaging, and consumer should clearly find out, you know. And this communication, of course, all and every media available should be used and is used. Digital is a great media today. You can target consumer, you can target consumer with a descriptive message, which is not really possible in many other traditional medias. But having said that, I think the best communicator is again the packaging itself. When you do a sustainable packaging, don't try to mimic your regular packaging. What we do normally is we spend a lot of effort making the packaging sustainable, then we perhaps spend equal amount of effort to make it look like the other one, which is a self-defeating purpose. Because if you are selling this proposition, consumers should know. You might have to compromise some amount on your print and all those things. But that's fine. You should understand that what you are selling is this preposition that is recyclable, and, or it is made out of natural material. And the consumer has an intuitive feel about things, right? Consumer intuitively thinks that this is more natural, this is more biodegradable, etc. And all of us in the consumer goods industry, we know that it is much easier to ride on the inherent beliefs and inherent belief system of the consumer than to create new belief system. It's an uphill task to create new belief system, right? So when you say paper is a great thing in that space, but when we try to do paper, first of all, paper gets deranked in your initiatives because it is compromised on barriers, etc. But even if you do something, you try to make it look exactly like your laminate, right? So it is a self-defeating purpose. Barriers, etc. Yes, these are challenges. We do not have solutions in paper space today. But I'm saying even if you were to add some amount of polymeric material along with paper, right? You know that anyway, if I if I use all plastic also, it is unlikely, because of the reasons what I said earlier, it's unlikely that it will get recycled, right? So with some amount of polymeric material, if I can reduce in this process, and if I can communicate and connect with the consumer, I think that's a great way to do things. Shortly, you should be seeing one of such packs, which we have done. I would not reveal the name, but it will be under the Ashirvad brand. Today, there's been some press releases. It should be available in the Flipkarts of the world and Amazons of the world. So I'd ask you to look forward to that.
That's wonderful. Listening to Viswarup took me to my experience in having cup of tea in the edible cup. Some of you might be aware of it. Chai pee lijiye aur cup ko kha bhi jaiye, isn't it? So that's another sustainable development happening. And purane zamane mein, in olden days, we used to have tea in that kullads. You know, matti ka kullad, sustainable packaging. But another thing, I was talking to Gautam about when I met him about 30 years ago when I was working with Ranbaxy, that rondo trays were very popular, and he was a pioneer in rondo trays manufacturing for the packaging of ampules. But after the advent of blister packaging, rondo trays went back somewhere. I don't know where it is, but I think it's going to come back again. What do you say, Gautam, if you're there? Yeah? It's going to come. But again, the question of cost comes in, as Viswarup rightly spoke about it. So cost is always a major concern for all of us while focusing on developing sustainable solutions. Is it the truth, or it is just a myth? Let's understand from our next panelist. Do costs always escalate when innovative solutions are adopted? And what kind of innovations that can be brought into the market to increase usage of sustainable packaging, even if cost is there? My question is to Mr. Manjunath.
Yeah, thank you, Doctor. See, sustainability is one of my favorite subjects because being from farmer background, dealing with pharmaceutical packaging development. So even though we have less percentage of waste into the landfills, so because and I have certain limitations, so we know to change to implement any kind of biodegradable or recycled packaging material in pharmaceutical industry. So considering all these parameters, so what we did, even though where the regulations comes to picture in any kind of packaging design and development. So we divided into different categories. So you might be hearing that packaging development, packaging technologist, packaging engineer. So we renamed in pharmaceutical packaging development as packaging scientist. Because why I always believe that we always apply science and technology in any kind of packaging design development. So that's the reason we renamed ourselves as packaging scientist. So considering these two factors, so we also found we also assessed and finalized few ideas. So where making the sustainability goal achievable in pharmaceutical packaging. So with respect to the cost, as you rightly mentioned, post-COVID scenario, the pharmaceutical packaging is facing a tough challenge in export market with respect to costing. So this is one of the scenario, and considering sustainability goal, we have initiated various initiatives with respect to packaging design and development. So I would like to quote a few examples here. We have extended sustainability with design first. So whatever the packaging design which we are developing, either maybe a primary or secondary or tertiary packaging materials, so we should always take into consideration that over design is avoided. So always is cost to be considered as the primary factor for any kind of packaging or pharmaceutical product. So developing a compact packaging design which help. So in reducing the packaging material consumption up to some extent level. Second, coming to the technology, just by leveraging technology and by bringing digitalization into the pharmaceutical packaging. So there are various benefits which we can get out of it with respect to cost and the operations. So what we did, we extended sustainability not only with design and development, also to the operations. See, whatever the packaging which we develop, so should done on the mission. So we worked with multiple the mission manufacturers. So a couple of printers here. One is the MESPAC as well as the IMAPG. So bringing automation and bringing digitalization into the operations, so which can help. So increase in output, reduce in consumption of excess packaging material. So also what we did, we also extended the sustainability, consumer sustainability goal, and we also extended this factor into the logistics. So by doing reverse engineering, so whatever the pack, whatever the secondary or tertiary pack which we develop, which may be a saleable unit, which may be a hospital pack, so we always take this into consideration. So one is that design matters a lot. We have different dosage forms, it may be a blister or a bottle or a sachet or liquid products. So we always take the design as a primary goal. Example, blisters. So we always go with developing compact blisters. So reducing space between each cavity, right? In such a way that the carton size will get reduced. In fact, the operations will be automated by bringing automation into the operations, followed by the logistic benefit. Second on the bottles. So bottles, even though we have certain regulations which needs to be considered while developing a design for export market. So reducing the headspace. So we are generally what happens in generic market, we just duplicate the generic player. So whatever the RLD, whatever the reference drug available in the market, we just bring those samples. We just duplicate, being a generic player, just launch into the market. So that methodology has been changed now because of post-COVID scenario, because the cost factor comes into picture. So what we did is that reducing as much as the headspace inside the bottle. So you could see the domestic market where we could see very less headspace, the product is packed and supplied. The same approach we apply for export market now. We are doing a lot of reverse engineering, a lot of innovation we are bringing into that aspect, where up to some extent the bottle can be saved. That is one thing. Third, which I would say that we have extended to the supply chain. So what we did, so we also came up with a few ideas. For example, the bottle label. So where the bottles are applied with a bottle printed label. So these labels are supplied in the form of rolls. So you might be aware who are from pharmaceutical background. So each roll comprising of might be a 5,000 or 10,000 labels. So these labels in roll form are supplied to pharmaceutical company. So these labels are pasted to a liner, which is called as a backing paper. So which is made of PET and again a glassine paper. So ideally what happens in pharmaceutical, majority of the pharmaceutical industries, though after utilizing the labels on the operations, they'll discard the material. So what we found a solution that it can be recyclable. So we found some manufacturers where this material can be collected from pharmaceutical organizations and be used for recycling of packaging material. So those are some innovations. Even though we have limitations in pharmaceutical packaging, within those limitations, by adhering regulations, some ideas we generate within our pharmaceutical packaging to bring some cost benefit as well as to achieve some sustainability goal. So I thought of putting some few examples into this forum. Thank you.
All right. So cost, no doubt, cost is always a major concern, but there is a way to counter the cost as shared by Mr. Manjunath by reducing the head space and having some optimization in the supply chain cycle, whatever we can do. So that's an innovative way of thinking on this subject. Now, ladies and gentlemen, as Mr. Sanjay had just announced about the number of R's, I have 11 R's. How many you have? Please keep it, and then certainly there'll be a gift to somebody who will tell me the 11 R's. Okay, so let's move ahead further on this subject, and this will be the question to my another panelist. I hope you are not getting bored. Is it interesting? Learning something from this? Yeah? Very innovative. I am learning quite a lot. I am a student of packaging and I love this discussion. I love to add value to my knowledge. Thank you so much. Recycling has been a pioneering industry. I was talking to an industry friend in the last week about this recycling thing. They said that yes, it's a challenge, no doubt, but recycling industries are increasing in India. And he also mentioned that it is a professional kabadi wala job. Kabadis we used to look at in a very different way, but now we respect them. They are important part of society. They bring those wastes for us, those rag pickers. They bring to us, and we convert those wastes into different things. A lot of value addition is done. So a lot of respect is there to the kabadi people. Thank you very much for being in the society. Though cleaning, processing, sorting, and transporting becomes a difficult subject, but do you think that your products can be packed in recycled plastics? Depending on the type of product. This question is specifically to Mr. Prince, but others can also answer once Prince completes his reply, because this question is for every segment of the industry. Yes, sir.
Yeah, I think definitely not recommended for the packaging which are in direct contact with food products because of the high chances of migration. But I have not come across an industry who is doing chemical recycling in India. Most of it are mechanical recycling. I am not sure. Miss Ekta is in the crowd, so she may be able to tell whether we have mechanical or chemical recycling in India.
So finally, we got approval from multiple regulatory authorities where we could save huge savings with respect to palletization. So that is how, because as I mentioned repeatedly, we have limitations in pharmaceutical packaging, design and development.
Right.
Considering those limitations, taking regulations into picture, so we are coming up with various ideas which generates not only the sustainability as well as the cost.
All right. Good. Thank you. This is taking me to very innovative product somebody was talking to me about. That's called paper bottle. There's an entrepreneur in Noida. She left her job and then she got into this. Now she is producing paper bottle, and her company's name is Kagzi Packaging, something like that.
Yeah,
Kagzi, yeah? Yeah. Kagzi bottles. Samsika Garewal, she is doing a wonderful job. I came across with another company called Frugal Pack, which is in USA, and that is also making a paper bottle. About 84% of the constituent is paper by weight, and 94% of the entire constituent is recyclable. That's a great innovation. Pulp Pack is another innovation which is happening worldwide that doesn't use water to mold the pulp, make the pulp trays, pulp containers. TerraCycle is another one. So many innovations are happening worldwide. But again, the question comes in that plastics and packaging, they go together. And as a student of packaging, I have seen from the day one, plastics is the major constituent of packaging in all the cases. A lot of research is happening. My question to the last panelist is that, do you think, Ashish, that it is realistic to think packaging without plastic? Because you mentioned about the elimination of single-use plastic, elimination of bubble film from your group of industries, your sector. Can this be extended to other sectors as well? We'll request other panelists also to chip in. But to begin with, can we visualize packaging without plastics?
So last question, and everybody is eager for the obvious reason. So I'd like to keep it short and sweet. This is my independent view again. Plastic was invented about in 1950, right? In year 2023, we have not been able to find, so sizable or the, exactly replaceable material. As an independent opinion, I would say that currently we are not in stage of eliminating plastic, 100%. But the kind of development that are happening, I can assure you, down the line, because the graph is going too fast, as far as the development is concerned. And as Dada has mentioned that the 3x price, now the price is getting reduced, we are tracking it. So the kind of PLA development in PLA is happening. I am very, very optimistic that in next 20 years, you can note down the day, year, uh, we'll be in position to minimize plastic to a large extent. That is one. Second thing, I believe the authorities, the government authorities are doing a fantastic job because if I talk about some numbers, about 62 million ton that is a total waste that we generate, about 43 metric ton is being taken back. The plastic is about 3.4 million metric ton. The only area that needs to be focused is the treated material that we are not focusing on. That because out of 43 material which has been collected back, only 19 million metric ton is being treated. So if we do that, if we recycle more, then yes, why should we avoid plastic? Because as you can see, my another senior is wearing a T-shirt. We are finding ways and means, to keep the plastic alive. At the same time, I still remember, or I was thinking while coming here, that the candy which I ate about 20 years ago might be still available in the environment because it takes 20 to 500 years to decompose, or degrade. But papers take hardly 2 to 6 weeks, right? So, but again, going back to what my another senior, Vishwagupta, is saying, that currently we are, our hands are tied because the kind of thin plastic that we are compelled to use for candies, like 50 paise candy and 1 rupee candy, who will use PLA material right now? That is one. Second thing, the PLA, currently the compatibility of PLA to the flexible packaging is more. Are we working towards the rigid packaging compatibility? The answer is I'm not sure. Whether if anybody is available here, I would like to have a discussion with him or her. Because the rigid packaging is another area that there is remain undeveloped, as far as a biodegradable or biocompostable plastic is concerned. So just to answer your question in short, currently plastic, because we are living with plastic, we have to live with plastic. But down the line in 20 years, I'm repeating the count or repeating the number, we will have sizable replacement, I would say. Thank you.
Yeah, thank you. Any one of you? Yeah,
I just
please.
had one point. Hello. Yeah. So completely agree with Ashish here. So I think if we try to look for a replacement of plastic, right? The industry has come globally. I'm trying to give some global view here. I think globally it has reached a certain maturity, right? With use of plastic over last so many years. If you try to look for an alternative to plastic or say no to plastic, I don't think we have an answer, right? So it is not about whether we drop plastic and go to something else, right? Whether it's paper or biodegradable material or anything else. I think it is how you use plastic, how responsibly you use this magic material, right? Plastic is a magic material.
Yes.
It's got phenomenal quotient in terms of your weight to strength ratio, right? You will take perhaps another, I don't know how many decades to find anything that is coming even close to plastics. So it is not about plastics versus anything else. It is about how responsibly and how sustainably we continue to use plastic, how smartly we create circularity in plastics to ensure perpetuity of this particular format. And at the same time, we keep working on alternatives, right? That's one small addition from my side.
Thank you. Thank
Yeah.
you. Thank you.
So from my side, what have come up with some ideas. So yes, it's understood that it's not avoidable, it's not possible to eliminate plastic from daily use.
Right.
So some ideas which I generated within myself were that by changing the buying habits. So I'm just observing for a few months. Every day my dustbin, I'm full of wastage. So I always think about how to avoid this, how to eliminate this. Changing the buying habit, changing the mindset. The revolution should come where I feel that it should start from me. I am responsible for the environment. So what I did,
Right.
so changing the buying habits, instead of buying plastic utensils, go for alternatives like stainless steel or metal utensils. Today, if you see, in my home, there is no plastic container, plastic utensils, everything converted into steel.
Okay.
Even my wife is scared. Whenever we go for shopping, she always likes the plastic because of the design and shape. So I'm very clear, no plastic allowed in our home.
You have vetoed her.
So this is something where no, this might be looking very silly, but it has to start from individual. That is how which I feel. So reduce plastic, change our mindset, change buying habits.
Very nice.
Is one of the idea which I
Well
was putting in front of the forum. Thank you.
And that's where the importance of that person on the beach who was throwing back the starfish to the ocean comes in. Every individual has to own up the responsibility to behave sensibly as far as packaging is concerned. बुरा जो देखन मैं चला बुरा ना मिलिए कोई. जब 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 मन देखा अपना मुझसे बुरा ना कोई. So look within and see what I can do rather than what others can do. So ladies and gentlemen, thank you very much for being great audience, patient listener and wonderful human beings. Now is a time for question and answers. So mic is please given to the audience and it will be on first come first serve basis by the raise of hand. Okay, I could find yes please.
Check.
Sir.
Dr. Shahidi, for a very high quality discussion. I really enjoyed listening to all of you. I have an interesting concept to share with you, which might make you think a little differently from the way we have had this discussion today. I'd like to ask this entire audience to raise their hands if they have heard of a concept called externalities. Anybody? Any students of economics here? Nobody. Okay. The concept of externalities is this. An externality occurs when the cost of making a product is borne by people who do not enjoy that product. Okay? The cost of making a product is borne, of course, by the people who consume it, but also by people who do not consume it. Okay? As an example, there is a smoker. He smokes a cigarette. He bears the cost of that cigarette. But somebody who is consuming the smoke as a passive smoker also bears the cost of that cigarette. Okay, that's an externality. I am going to suggest to you, gentlemen,
Sir.
that you consider the external costs, the externalities of the packaging materials that you are currently using. And you will find that this inexpensive material that you're talking about, that you're currently using, is a fictitious cost. There are costs of the materials that you're currently using which we consumers are not bearing. These costs are going to be borne by future generations. Therefore, to say that compostable materials or biodegradable materials are too costly is based on the false premise that your current materials are cheap. They are not. They are cheap right now, but somebody is bearing the cost of the externalities contained inside that product. I think if you start thinking like this, the entire conversation is going to change.
True. Thank you very much for adding value, sir. That's fantastic. Lovely. Thank you so much.
I echo the view given by the previous gentleman that I must have attended so many sustainability summits, but this was the best. I really, really enjoyed the amount of knowledge I gained today. So my simple question, I myself is a recycler. I do recycling of most difficult plastics, which people say generally know, like laminates and nylon-based films and all that. But my addition to this forum is, in a sustainability subject, is that most commonly solved problem sometimes is not addressed very instantly. So my only view is that most plastic is seen as an alien is because of the littering habit and segregation not done at the source. I think it's most of the time it's the most government's job, but big MNCs and FMCG through social media and through mass media can solve this problem by bringing a little more awareness than what they are doing currently, so that society becomes aware. They don't just litter like nobody's job and do a segregation. Look at the Japan. They have the beautiful way of segregation at source. All the families has the 7 different materials segregated, very nicely packed and given to the recycling vehicles. That is the way India should follow, and for that you need an efforts. Government is doing their job, but brand owners can also do a little more contribution than what they are doing today. That's my small distance.
Thank you. Thank you very much. Mic at the back side, please. The gentleman. Your name, sir, and then your question.
Hello.
Little louder, please. Little louder.
Hello.
Yes.
Yeah.
Better.
I'm from IMA PG. I just want to share, of course, I've heard the various speakers talking about materials like PLA, which are used basically for medical devices. I just want to share that at IMA PG today we have tested PLA materials for thermoforming, and also we found the results. Of course, this was an imported material which came in, but I mean, we think that if PLA was available in India, it's basically a good material for, materials for parts like medical devices, where this could be a good solution for the industry. Of course, today we don't hear manufacturers in India even thinking of developing this, maybe because of the cost of development in producing this locally. But as a manufacturer today, and having tested PLA, we found the results fairly good. And I think this could be one of the areas where if we start looking actively into this area as for the pharma market, I'm sure this could be a good solution. We've also done tests with, for Mr. Manjunath, we've done some tests using paper as a laminate given by one of this leading manufacturer, Hutamaki, for blisters of paper, using paper as a laminate. Of course, the results were not too good because I believe that one would be, the main aspect would be the barrier which one would get for pharmaceutical products. And I'm quite sure that that could be one of the major points. But I do believe that with paper, they were using some plastics in it, which is again recyclable, which could be definitely good if one looks at trying to develop these things locally. And of course, if the government takes initiatives, or if everyone looks at environment and tries to see how, say, PLA, as we all know, is made from sugarcane and from corn, which is definitely a very good material. So I think such initiatives need to be looked at. But as a manufacturer, we are ready. We can test it. We don't need anything special to run it. And I really feel that could be one of the good initiatives for industries in India to take the lead and probably move in that direction. We've also had an opportunity to test PET, which we are going to do some test, which is a mono material for thermoforming. Although there are limitations, there could be difficulties in trying to get the product out, because when it is a film, it is not difficult for the tablet to come out, unlike foil. So there are limitations, but I believe in a number of years, or if there are certain laminates done, I'm sure these could be good initiatives to move ahead. Okay, this is from my end.
Yeah, I really appreciate Mr. Richard for sharing these insights with us. So I know Mr. Richard since 2010, almost more than 10 years now. So he's very much passionate about it. To the forum here, so we also just eliminating the plastic in case of sachets. So we're switching over. We're doing a lot of development towards switching over from plastic to a paper-based laminate by using the most commonly used recycled packaging material. So really appreciate for that, for those kind of initiatives from EMA PG. So definitely we are looking forward to work with you for a few more projects to bring new innovation in the packaging. Thank you.
Hello, myself Parag here. I am from Flipkart team. My question is to the panelists is that we are talking about PET bottle recycling, bottle to bottle recycling, right? So in that scenario, we have some studies, or maybe the previously when 8 years ago, I have attended one seminar. There it was claimed that when you are recycling the PET, there is a lot of leaching happening, and which results into bisphenol formation, and then it will be health hazardous for our normal human being. So is that, means my question is very simple. When we are doing any recycling for the sake of humanity and for doing good for the humans, or by protecting our mother earth and all, is that point is taken into consideration when we are talking about it? So maybe the question may be for Sanjay sir.
See, which country you attended this seminar in?
No, India only, Mumbai.
India, okay. So 8 years back, India practically did not have any infrastructure of food grade bottle to bottle RPET, right? Practically, which is currently being built as we speak. So the safety factor of a recycled polymer and recycled PET in this case will largely be a factor of, or a function of the cleaning and washing process, number one. These are extremely calibrated machines and extremely calibrated processes. That's one part. The second part is, as Viresh Bhai mentioned here, that it's the quality of recyclate that you're getting, or post-consumer recyclate that you're getting from the market, right? If your segregation at source is done as a matter of behavior by every household and every institution, like hotels, hospitals, etc., the quality of material that you will get at the end of the supply chain for recycling will be far better. And hence, the economic value and the safety of that material to be used in contact with beverages and food will be far, far better, right? So it's, in terms of risk, you can mitigate it by proper segregation at source and a calibrated and controlled process of cleaning and washing. So I think these are the two things which are very critical to ensure absolute human safety is attained in terms of using recycled polymers, right? So as of now, people have done it. We have done series of migration testings, right? We have done series of sensorial testings to ensure that the recycled polymer used at different percentages, 10%, 30%, 70%, 100%, without master batch, right? We've realized that if you do these two things right, then there is absolutely no human risk in using RPET in contact with food or beverages. Right?
So I hope there will be tests available for that also, for identifying the percentage of recycled content in your material. Is there any test available, maybe for the benefit of
recycled content?
Content, yes. So when you are saying 10%, 20%, 30% you have used for your particular recipe, there must be some test available, right?
No, test, I don't know of any test. If anybody can say, I don't know. I'm not aware of any such test. Huh? Correct, there is no such test. That's my understanding as well. But the point is, whether you're using 10, 30, 70, 100, whatever, you need to ensure human safety, food safety, right, in contact with whatever you're consuming. And that can be done through the ways that I said, correct? So it's more important to ensure see, that's the reason Government of India, FSSI took so much time. The reason is, in India, I hope I can take a minute more, right?
Yeah, just 1 minute.
Yeah, sure. That's the reason FSSI took so much time, because there is so much of unscrupulous practice in India, people using non-food grade RPET in food and beverages, for food and beverages, right? Because you have a huge price arbitrage, right? Because if you're using a non-food grade RPET, it is way cheaper than a virgin PET. So you're constantly enjoying that price arbitrage. So that's the reason government has been so cautious and circumspect before issuing this clearance for RPET, right? Food in contact with food and beverages. So I think the systems and processes and the checks and balances are going to be put in place by BIS going forward. Will ensure that food safety measures have been put in place for human consumption.
For recycled plastic. Thank you very much, all our panelists. And if anybody else is having more questions, they are available. Panelists are available. Very short of time now. So request the gentleman to ask the question separately, please, later on. Yeah, we are about to close now. Okay. Thank you so much.